Well, would you turn your mind back with me to the beginning, thousands of years ago? You remember the whole world decided to turn against God. Men and women decided we'll live without him, and we'll do it our own way. We're not going to put up with his continual directions day after day. We'll make our own decisions, and we'll work it our own way, and we'll do without him. And we'll establish our own security and our own happiness on our own. And you remember what happened at that time. Maybe you'd look at it in Genesis. It is Genesis and chapter 6 and verse 11. It's page 5, Genesis 6 and verse 11. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And then back in verse 5. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. We like to feel that you can live life your own way and live it according to your own directions and do things that many other people think are bad, and yet it will not affect your own nature. But do you see what happened to them? The more they lived for themselves and established their own deity over different sections of the earth, the more they turned into terrible monsters. Men living for themselves, cutting down anybody who got in the way, turned themselves into monsters. They bent the original personality that God had given them out of all recognition. And they became monsters for which there was only one remedy. And that remedy is there if you like to look at it in Genesis. And it's verse 13 of chapter 6. Maybe you'd read 12 and 13 together, it gives the continuity. Genesis chapter 6 and verse 12. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Brothers and sisters, it is possible to come to that kind of position where the only answer for sin and disobedience is death. And do you see that that's what death is for? Death is not to punish us for our sins. Death is not, you bad child, you should not live without trusting me. Don't do that again. That's not the purpose of death. The purpose of death is to destroy sin and to destroy a personality that has become hopelessly perverted and twisted by sin, so that all it can cry out is what the normal Jew could cry out: I don't understand my own actions. I do the very thing that I do not want. And the thing I want to do, that I cannot do. That's a personality that is so twisted and perverted that it no longer makes any sense to itself. It has no longer any control of itself. That was the position of the normal Jew hundreds of years ago. Now, loved ones, the only answer to that kind of a perverted personality is death. And of course, God explained that to us by flooding the whole world in the time of Noah. And really his problem was this: how to get rid of that perverted personality without destroying the sinner. Because that's what he had to do. The first time he flooded the world, he destroyed everybody but Noah and the family. And you know that God did discover a way to destroy that perverted personality without destroying the sinner. You remember he said later on to Noah, I will never again destroy all flesh upon the earth. And the reason for that was that there was a lamb that was slain from before the foundation of the world. God took the perverted personalities of all us rebels and he put them into Jesus, and he burned them out into destruction with rays of chemotherapy that we could never ourselves have borne and stayed alive. God as a physician took the cancerous, desire for greed and for envy and jealousy and pride and reputation and security and importance that we have developed in our personalities, and he put them into Jesus and destroyed them on the cross. And for that reason, loved ones, he was able to avoid destroying the whole world again with a flood.